Okay, before we get started, there are a couple things I want to show you here in Firefox. Under Tools, Add-ons, notice that we have Firebug here that we're going to use, but we also have FireDiff and FireFormat, which are two helper programs that are going to let us do some things that Firebug can't do by itself. Okay, this is our little HTML program called First HTML. The title is First HTML. The header is First HTML. There are two links, each in a separate paragraph. There's an image and there's a simple paragraph of text followed by a footer that contains a copyright. Okay, we want to open up Firebug. So you do that with this little bug here in the toolbar. Notice it has two panels. Right now we've highlighted HTML tab in the first panel, and we're going to highlight the DOM tab in the second panel. Right now we have just the HTML, which is the top level of the DOM, and that's highlighted, and so the whole page that's displayed in the top half of the window is highlighted. If we click on the plus sign, we see that there are two child nodes, a head and a body. If we click on the body, we can see that there's a div. If we click on the div, we can see that there's a header, a nav, a div, ID section 2, and a footer. Notice as I go down here, highlight the header, and the header is highlighted top part of the page. If I put the cursor on the div, the home and the content, which are our links, are highlighted. If I click on the div, the lower part of the text is highlighted, and if I click on the footer, the copyright notice is highlighted. If I open up the nav, there are two paragraphs. If I open up the first one, I see that the paragraph contains an A tag. When I highlight the paragraph, not just the text, in this case the link, but also the lines above and below the link are highlighted. These represent the spacing that the paragraph sets up on our page. If I highlight the link, not only does it show the link in the top half of the page, but it shows here the path in the DOM all the way from the top level HTML node all the way to the A node, and it shows all the parent-child relationships to get down to the A node. Over here in the DOM, I can see certain things about that we might be interested in about that particular node, in this case an A node that's been highlighted. The first child is a text node with the text content of home. The first element child is null because there are no elements. The inner HTML is home. There is no item ID. The last child is the same as the first child because there's only one child of this particular element. The outer HTML is the whole A tag. The parent element is a paragraph. The parent node is a paragraph. We can see that from here as well. The text and the text content both are home, and that's the text that's here between the opening and the closing A tag. If we go down further in our code, we have a div with an ID of section 2. Notice under attributes it says ID section 2. Child nodes, it has a node list. There's a whole bunch of nodes listed here under the child node. You see them all here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down to 8. First child is just a /n. This is a white space tag. This is a white space text area. First element child is a P tag. The ID is section 2. The inner HTML is all of the paragraphs, including the paragraph that has our text and our picture here. If we go further down here, we see that there are two empty paragraphs followed by a paragraph that has some content. In this case, it's an image. If we highlight the image, we see that the attribute here, we have the source of the image and the alt name Romeo that would be displayed if the image couldn't be displayed. The first child is null, the first element child is null because there's nothing underneath this particular element. Now we go down here to our little paragraph. The inner HTML is the paragraph. This is a simple program with a header, navigation, an image, some content, and a footer, copyright footer. Let's say we want to edit this particular area of code. Well, Firebug lets us do that very thing. We can go in here and get rid of the word copyright, delete that. Notice it changed up here in the actual page that's displayed in the top part of the screen. The only problem is the code that's on disk hasn't been changed. We can see that by refreshing the screen, and now we have the original content that is in the file that this is displayed from. What we really want to do is be able to capture any changes that we make to the HTML that we are doing as a result of manipulating the code with Firebug. So we're going to do this again. We're going to take this paragraph, we're going to edit it, we're going to get rid of the copyright statement text, and we're going to go over here to changes. Notice it says that there are two changes. One is node removed and the other is node inserted. This is the way that it records a change here where we've made a change in the text of a paragraph. It removes the old paragraph and adds the new paragraph. If we go down here and click on the paragraph, it shows the paragraph as it exists without the word copyright. If we go back to changes and right click this time on that paragraph, we can save the snapshot, which is a picture of the code as it exists after we made the change. We're going to call that first HTML_1. We're going to save that. And yes, we want to replace that. And now we save the change here that is represented by the editing that we did in Firebug.